fuck the liberals, mate. We're going to get MAGA 2014. I can't even do a fucking British accent. So we would tattoo like Trump 2014, like shit on their ass. And they would fucking love it. But while they're doing it, they're like finger fucking each other's ass. They're like, this is our new private. Fuck you, dude. And like put their fingers in their ass. Dude, they were the craziest motherfuckers. The British Red Devil.
For how much they were speaking against liberals, they were quite sexually liberated.
They really were funny. Fucking nuts.
You're listening to the Art and War podcast with your hosts, Mitch and Nathan. Mitch is a former airborne infantry squad leader who now spends most of his time coaching soccer. Nathan is a professional illustrator and an avid shooter with a couple of years of Canadian military experience. Together, they run the Seaburn Art page. Enjoy the show.
Fucking idea who Cristiano Ronaldo was. He didn't know.
I don't know who fucking Cristiano Ronaldo is. I don't care who Cristiano Ronaldo is a better way of putting it. I don't care about your gay porn stars, Mitch. I really don't.
That sounds so salty. Why would you say that?
He gives me so much shit for not knowing who Cristiano Ronaldo is.
Why are you yelling into the mic?
Why are you yelling into the mic?
Oh my god.
He had no idea. Like, it's one thing.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, he's the most famous person on social media. It's like, I don't care. I don't use
so
social
is Kylie
media.
Jenner. What's your logic? Who cares about who's popular on the internet?
Exactly. Yeah, fuck you, Mitch.
My logic was it's Cristiano fucking Ronaldo. Everybody, people who don't even watch sports know who Cristiano Ronaldo is.
Apparently not, because I had no idea who Cristiano Ronaldo is, and I
Did you
forgot.
know who
I thought
Messi is?
I remember he came up for whatever reason a couple weeks ago, and I messaged Mitch, and he's like, and I said, hey, that guy you like is somewhere, and I thought his name was like Ernie or something.
Ernie.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
A Portuguese
I was
man.
searching my brain for his name.
Call him Ernie.
I don't know how I got Ernie or like Ernest out of Cristiano Ronaldo, but like I knew who the person was, but I forgot their name, and I only ever remember their name when Mitch gives me shit about it.
Have you heard of Messi?
Did you at least know who Messi is? You must have known who Messi is at least.
Who?
Lionel Messi?
Who?
Oh my god.
I've never heard that name in my life.
That's what I'm saying. Even you don't have to be a fan of sports to know who these people are. Do you know
why would I?
Is?
It's like they're like the Kardashians to me. Oh man, this boy is good at kicking a ball. Yes, I'm going to. Yeah, but no, I don't know who they are. You know who the last time I watched cable television was, Mitch?
Listen, you knew who LeBron James was, who is significantly less popular than Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi.
I wish I didn't know who LeBron James is. But I don't really care who LeBron James is.
Wow, that's such a boomer way of explaining it, but I like it. It's all right. You know what? That doesn't make sense though, because I don't really watch American football or however you call it, NFL and stuff, and I know who Tom Brady is.
I know who Tom Brady is because he's like in the news here sometimes. Like I get Apple News alerts, and that's basically the closest I get to mainstream media, and that's only because I don't know how to turn it off. That being said, Cristiano Ronaldo has never come out in one of those, and if he has, I've just ignored it.
Cristiano Ronaldo is probably 10 times more popular in the world than Tom Brady.
Yes, and you know what's a lot more popular in the world? Like eating mealworms and doing things that I don't care about.
Oh my days. Okay, what type of sports do you like then at all? Do you like any type of sport? Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Fair
enough.
I used to watch hockey a little bit, like a local team, the Mooseheads. But
wait, the Mooseheads?
The Mooseheads, like a moose, like the many-horned
That animal. Is the most Canadian shit that I have ever heard.
Yes, the Halifax Mooseheads, our local team, and I mostly went to watch the fights.
The fights. Yeah. Well, it sounds like Mitch, he used to go to Millwall games for the fights.
The fights were awesome.
Millwall
just over time, I don't know. Mitch really likes his bread and circuses, and I'll never fault anyone except for Mitch for liking bread and circuses.
Listen.
But, I don't know, never really been my thing.
Millwall is a club of culture and history. And
neither of those.
You are the least cultured person I know, Mitch.
Listen, I don't want to hear it. Can I say your name on the podcast?
Sure.
Anna, I don't want to hear it. And your twisted English Bulgarian fucking thoughts about my club Millwall. I don't need to hear it.
Fuck Millwall.
Yeah, fuck Millwall. See, he knows. Oh,
Greatest
don't be
championship.
upset. It's okay. I'm sorry. Your team's like what, bottom table right now in second
We
division.
are upper mid half. All right.
Okay.
We're almost in the playoffs. Almost.
Oh, so like Juventus, they're also upper mid
Oh my fucking god! How's Real Madrid doing?
top of the league.
Are they? I thought they were sucking.
They are. We're like 13 points away from, I think.
All right. Well, never fucking mind then. Today we are joined with Anna, aka Doc Earnhardt, aka Victim Henry. I think is.
Yes, correct.
Where did all those names come from?
Right. I'll start with my Instagram name because a lot of people ask me and they assume I'm a guy because of the name. It's actually an old blog name that was inspired by Silent Hill. If you guys played Silent Hill.
Yes, I love Silent Hill.
Finally, something you like.
Yeah. No, I love all sorts of stuff, just not sports. I grew up a nerd. I can talk to you about video games forever. Movies, all that stuff. But
that is awesome. I also love video games, but yeah, that was my main inspiration for it because in the fourth installment of the game, the main character is Henry. Not to spoil what fucking 15-year-old game now, but stuff happened to Henry and victim Henry, etc., etc.
There's Henry and he's a victim. Fuck,
Pretty much.
it makes me so sad that Konami isn't doing Silent Hill anymore, but they're still holding on to the property so no one else can do anything with it. It's really looking to Hideo Kojima's.
Huh? They're making pachinko machines now, those for
that's all they're doing.
And skateboards.
Oh my god. I hate Konami. After that guy's son took over, the whole place went to shit.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 5 was genuinely like one of the greatest. Like, it was a great game, but it was one of the biggest disappointments of all time.
Yeah, which one, sorry?
Metal Gear Solid 5. It was like their last game. Hideo Kojima basically went overtime with it. The guy directing the game. He was also the one who was supposed to be working on the new Silent Hill. He was working on the new Silent Hill, and then Konami fired him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite depressing because I think that game was cursed in some way because there are several people who tried to do similar stuff to it. One was at Allison Road, I believe it was called, and then that project got cancelled. I think Konami had.
I thought it came out and it just sucked.
What did?
Allison Road.
I don't think it came out. They only had some demonstration of it. That's.
You're right. I looked it up. It's cancelled.
Yeah, they didn't get funding or Konami budged into it because they got butthurt about it. I'm not too sure.
That's really disappointing. I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I was.
I'm glad that he's got his own studio now, so maybe something will come out. Death Stranding was good. I'm sorry, everyone, for the fucking nerdy video game conversations, but I know that Mitch is going to talk about fucking soccer for ages.
No. Let's hear the fucking nerdy video game stuff. Ignore me.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah, it's sad about PT, honestly. It had a lot of potential, because, with stuff that Kojima makes, it's never on the surface. It's always so many layers upon layers of information and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool, honestly.
No, I agree.
But I love that he was so attached to Norman Reedus that he took him off to Death Stranding. Like, that was great.
Same, yeah. No, Death Stranding was fantastic, too. For context, Mitch, it's a game where you just you play essentially a UPS delivery guy in post-apocalyptic America, and you just kind of walk around the country delivering packages.
Brain ages you really fast.
Yeah, and time and space is all fucked up, and it is the strangest concept for a game, but it is really, really fun and really good.
I think the whole idea was it was sort of a representation of human evolution, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, there's a lot of deeper meaning to the game that I looked up afterwards and then promptly forgot. But I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, and I think the visuals were not disappointing at all because
oh my god, it was beautiful.
With most games, the cinematics are fantastic, and then like Prey, for instance, by Bethesda.
Oh, I loved Prey and the original.
Yeah, but the cinematics and the gameplay completely different. With Death Stranding, they were very, very similar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think everything was done in engine. It looked like Mitch was about to say something there. He opened his mouth and kind of gaped like a fish for a second.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to track everything that's being said, and I associate Metal Gear Solid with Delta Magna and that fucking Fallout. And when it comes to Silent Hill PT, I saw people play it, like the demo of it where you like loop around the house and there's like scary shit that happens.
Yes.
I thought
Mitch probably won't admit it out loud, but he's a diehard PewDiePie fan.
So was I.
Yeah, I like PewDiePie.
love him.
I have no problem with saying that I still to this day, as a 25 or 26-year-old male, enjoy the shit out of PewDiePie.
What do you mean?
I'm not even making fun of you for it, Mitch. The minute that I saw a PewDiePie TED post, I got a lot of respect for the guy now.
Yeah. I thought though Silent Hill, that demo was meant to be the whole game. Like,
no. It was just basically PT stands for playable teaser. I think that's what it means. PT.
Yes.
But it seemed like that in itself could have been a game, because I mean, you were less like, you didn't have to do shit. You just had to move forward and walk around, and it was mostly just like, a horror thing where nobody
like Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear was similar. You just walk around.
Yes.
I like Layers of Fear. I have the second one, but
it had an amazing soundtrack.
Yes,
I can appreciate a good soundtrack for sure.
The one thing I didn't like about Layers of Fear, at least the initial one, was there was no loss condition. Like you couldn't lose. There was no point where you die and you go back to the beginning. There's, I think, one scene where if you die, it just like fades and you come back 30 seconds
Isn't that
earlier.
The canvas thing, I think you were.
Yeah. And that kind of killed Layers of Fear for me, but I'm just like nitpicking. I really, really like survival horror games, and there's very few good ones that have come out lately.
Yeah, I can agree on that. Yeah, me too. I was just doing like a questionnaire thing on my Instagram the other day about people's favorite survival horrors and just in general games like that. Most of them went back to the Stalker games. Have you played Stalker games?
I haven't actually played any of them.
They were wild. I'll tell you, they were quite difficult for what they were, but then again, I'm not one to speak because I'm not the best at games, but then again, I enjoy myself, so that's all that matters, really. At least, or as Mitch would say, get good, I guess, but whatever.
Get good.
Yeah, and also The Last of Us, obviously, people love.
The Last of Us was fantastic. My cat's named after Ellie.
Oh, that's very cute.
I wouldn't count that as a horror game, though.
I would count the elements of a horror game in there. There's a lot of survival horror elements, especially
Survivor. Definitely,
it's a horror game in the same way like Resident Evil is a horror game. Like the low ammunition, like being stalked through the dark when you've got 3 bullets and there's like strange monsters making clicking sounds that you can barely see. Outlast. Oh fuck, I love Outlast.
I was gonna say Outlast. I couldn't finish playing it. It scares the shit out of me.
Which one?
All of them.
Yeah. Oh man, the second one fucked me up. Like the first 2, I came into them, a little later, and I knew the formula enough to be like, oh, well, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. But the second one gets me every time, even now, and I'm desensitized as fuck.
I felt kind of bad for the second one because it came around the time in which Resident Evil, the one with the house, came out, and they were 7. Very similar in concept. And obviously, people are gonna go and play a new style of Resident Evil, first-person Resident Evil. Who's gonna miss on that? And you have crazy hillbillies. Obviously, they're gonna choose that over Outlast. So it kind of got buried underneath. But I can appreciate it. I think they did good with the story and the setting and everything. Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah. For sure. To be honest with you, you're saying The Last of Us it's not really that much of a horror, but then again, with horror, it really matters on the individual and what people find scary, what concepts, what settings, what visuals. For instance, for me, probably one of the games that I've had the hardest time finishing was Condemned Criminal Origins. That's quite an old game.
Oh, that's a fucking throwback. Oh my god.
It is, but it would stress me out so much. Even in the beginning, where you're in this derelict house with these crackheads running around from places and stuff, the setting was just so grim and eerie. Like for me, that was very difficult to go through when I was younger, while other people were like, oh, I don't find this scary. Same goes for Dead Space. When I was younger, people were like, oh, Dead Space is one of the scariest games I've played. You wouldn't be able to finish it. I breezed through it in a week or less, and I enjoyed it a lot, but I didn't find it scary.
Oh, it's coming back, I think.
Yes, it is. They're remastering it, as far as I
They
understand.
just dropped a, well, not just. They recently dropped a teaser.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. To be honest with you, the studio that used to work on it, Visceral, they closed down, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is sad because they were very good. The head of the creative team, he's really good when working in teams. Unlike, let's say, the teams that Bethesda have, there's a lot of controversy on how bad the work ethics are and stuff like that. But with Visceral, the main guy, I watched an interview. There was some YouTube video with an interview with him, and he was explaining how they were having a really hard time designing one of those. There was like this necromorph that had this like tentacle that slams you around when it grabs you, and they had a really hard time actually animating and making that work. So they were explaining how they went through the process and how it was like a lot of failures. And then he sat down and he was like, okay, let's find a different approach. Let's do this, let's do that. And you don't often, in creative environments, specifically when you work in a team, you don't always find, good leaders that can actually help you and direct you how to do something. They just sit down and say, you do it. You're the creative mind. It's not my problem. And that's a really bad approach to working, honestly.
No, you're absolutely right.
Have you ever worked on video games? It sounds like you've had experience in that industry.
No, but I've been in creative projects a lot in uni when I was in university because I graduated animation here. So we had like a lot of lectures with people that were in those environments, and we had like experimental projects and things. I would love to be a concept artist for a video game. I would die to do that.
Oh, you do really well.
I'm not confident enough with my work at this point for that. I don't think I can provide enough to be a concept artist because they require not only good understanding of anatomy, but also environments, weapon creation, car creation, and other stuff, which I'm not 100%, too good with that. But I'm working towards that. And hopefully one day, you never know.
Have you talked with Delta Magna about that? Because her and her boyfriend are doing a video game.
No, we haven't talked about that. We've just mostly small talked and stuff about, printing stickers and other things like that, just general art stuff.
Gotcha. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you two should
talk
really
about
like it because she's great, and her and her boyfriend, I know, are they're coming out with and designing a video game and putting it all together. I don't know any of the fucking things that go into it because I'm just the retard that plays them. But
no, trust me, I am most of the time as well. So
yeah, maybe that's something though where you could kind of learn and put some application of your animation stuff towards. So on your page, you kind of you say you do fan art, you do commissions. Do you do any of the animation stuff still, or is it mostly just kind of the fan art and commissions that you do?
I'll be honest with you, animation takes a lot of time, and I don't really make a lot of money out of it, so I'd rather just focus on commissions in which I can gain some finances, and further ahead I've planned on resuming animating again. I did an animation recently, like a few months ago. I think it was a Garen Thumb animation. It was like a demonstration thing of him shooting, which it took me around a month to do. It was like 40 frames roughly, and it was colored as well. It was just, it took a lot. I had to put a lot of stuff back, and again, I would ideally love to animate, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
and I can't afford it right now.
There was a video from The Odd Ones Out that I sent over to Nathan where he basically discussed the animation process, and Nathan was drawing similarities between the art that, you know, he creates in the illustration process. And just from watching it and knowing the process that Nathan kind of goes through, given he's kind of industrialized the art for the page, there's still a lot that goes into it. Illustration is no fucking joke. And I didn't realize how much recycling happened, and I never noticed. And I think that's a good sign of a good animator. And even with Nathan, I saw that in the animation video from Odd Ones Out, and I saw like the term recycling and like how that's used, and I was like, Nathan, we should probably do that. And you were already kind of doing it though, weren't you? And I had never noticed.
I've been doing it basically since like month 2. So about a year. Like I've been doing it for a long time. Basically, as soon as I had assets that could be recycled, I started recycling them. Which, like, a gun is a gun is a gun is a gun. Especially 90% of what I draw for the page is AR variants. It's like, how many variants of an AR receiver are there? How many different stocks are there? How many different optics? Like, I've drawn 5 EOTechs. Why would I draw the next EOTech by hand? I'm going to copy paste it from somewhere else and then fix it up.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it is. Referencing is key with most things in art, really. People tend to really put the idea of referencing down. I never understood that in the art community, art and animation both. A lot of people have this elitist way of thinking. It's like, you use referencing, that's cheating. I was like, how is that cheating?
Fuck off, yeah.
That's how you expand your visual library. Like, how do you think things happen? Well, you gotta be like this insane genius that can replicate anything out of your mind. That does not work like that. You need some sort of, comparison. That's how you learn about how the world works, how anatomy works, how anything works, even specifically with, one of the best advices I've seen about animation specifically was from this YouTuber. I can't remember the name right now, but he would say, when you reference, do not reference from photos, reference from videos. Take screenshots of videos of the movement. That's how you know you're doing the movement correctly. Because if you're doing a static pose for a shot, for an action shot, it's most of the time, you're never going to actually do this in real life when you're actually doing that movement. Let's say punching or kicking or something, anything like that, even facial expressions and things like that. In order to make them, more believable, more dynamic, let's say you take screenshots from videos, movies, or you film it yourself. That's what I used to do in university for short projects. I used to film my friends do the movements I wanted to animate, because we mostly started off with traditional animation with Dragon Frame and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys know what Dragon Frame is. It's basically a software where you it sort of like takes the photos of the frame by frame paper that you've drawn on, and then it puts it together for you. Imagine a simplified version of any animation software, honestly. And it puts it together for you, and you can remove and add frames and etc. in real time. It's quite good, but yeah, that's what I used to do. I used to take videos of my friends for poses and stuff, and then take it frame by frame, and it would work out better rather than when we used to do it with photos, because definitely photos is it's okay if you're doing an illustration, but for animation you're better off doing a video yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance in how people move. There's a lot of nuance, which is why I'm glad that motion capture and everything has come so far forward. It's very, very hard to animate very particular movements, but motion capture gets all the nuance and, like how someone's ankle turns slightly when they take a step, or throwing a kick or a punch or anything like that. A lot goes into it, a lot. And capturing that in animation especially is fucking difficult. I really like a lot of anime, actually. It appears that they trace over a fight or something similar. Like a lot of the movement is so fluid and realistic. I'm quite sure that they just directly reference like a film of two people.
Yeah, which is great. I think, obviously people laugh a lot when you say, oh, I watch anime and stuff, but when you're a creative mind, it's different.
Yeah, there's something to be taken from everything.
Yeah, you can still appreciate it, obviously, if you're not. Yeah. I think artists look at the world differently, obviously, but let's say consumers wouldn't perceive animation the same way that let's say an animator would, because obviously you're going to start being nitpicky. You're going to say, as you said, the knee turn or whatever, motion capture. For people like that, you pay attention to that. But let's say a consumer, they're not going to think, oh, a knee wouldn't do that, a fight wouldn't look like that. They are aware that they're watching an animated film, obviously.
Yeah.
So that matters as well. But in anime, definitely, it's a crazy amount of work. I admire all of the animators that work on anime ever. It's insane to me. No matter the context, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Nathan here, the other half of Seaburn Art Podcast, and oh god damn it, I fucked up the name of the podcast. Okay, BR, I'm recording a second one for safety. I'm so sorry. You can yell at me later. That's fine. But you're British, so nothing's going to make up for that. Hey guys, it's Nathan here, the other half of Seaburn Art, and the half that also has COVID. Anyways, we're just going to quickly thank our new sponsor, Midwest Armor. Midwest Armor, they make pretty good plate carriers. We use the Leap carrier now. They sent us some and they're pretty friggin' awesome. They remind me a lot of my old Cry JPC 1.0. They're pretty decently priced and they're really, really friggin' well made. If you need a plate carrier, armor, or plates in general, check them out. Anyways, February 5th in Colorado, Turkey Tracks, we're going to be doing a range cleanup, and Midwest Armor is helping us give away some gear along with a few other companies. If you want to find out more about that, check us out at Seaburn Art on Instagram. Anyways, back to the show.
How's it going, lads and ladies? This is BR, the producer of the show. I'm here to talk to you about our Patreon, which is entirely centered around improving what we can do with all of our content, from what we're doing right now with the show and Instagram, to what we would love to move into long term. Like building a compound in the middle of nowhere and shooting at trash. And maybe even building a studio and doing video podcasts. Who fucking knows? But what is in it for you, aside from seeing our faces in glorious Technicolor? Our Patreon subscribers enjoy 5 different tiers of exclusive perks, ranging from all of the content the lads would post on our pre-Zuckerberg Instagram, downloadable high-resolution guides, behind-the-scenes info like guest schedules, spicy memes, and at our highest tier, get monthly art commissions created by Nathan himself. You can find our Patreon via the link in this episode's description, or in the Seaburn Art page's bio on Instagram. Thanks for listening, people. Now let's get back to the show.
Looking at, it's not, like the anime that you think of when you say anime, but I used to be a huge South Park fan, and I used to buy
that
the
is
DVDs.
Like the definition of industrialized animation.
Yes, and I used to buy all their DVDs, and on their DVDs, they would show how they put out a South Park episode each and every week. Like, it was crazy, their process, to where storyboarding, animating, recording voice was done on a weekly basis for each episode, like in 1 week. And the amount of time and effort that went into the animations was insane. I mean, over time it's improved, but if you look at like the first 10 seasons, like the way that they talked, like especially the Canadians, it wasn't like complicated like mouth movements. It was literally like half their head was just like their whole mouth, and it would open and close. And they would do things like that, or walking, instead of like legs moving, they would literally just like, it was like somebody grabbed them by a mouse and with the mouse on the computer and just kind of like bounced them along.
They probably did, to be honest with you. You know what? The South Park style allows that, though. Their style is very simplified, and that's most animations have quite simplistic, more circular or squarish, simple shapes. And when I was studying, that's what they told us. When you're doing something, just start with simple shapes, etc., etc. Don't try and implement your style. That's why it was so difficult for me at some points, because my style is quite detailed and quite, more on the realism side. So it was a nightmare for me to start, trying to make my mind think simply to, make an actual animation. And for instance, how they're, bouncing ball, animation tests, I assume Nathan knows. Basically you animate how a ball bounces. So we had to make a character that did the same thing. So I decided to do, the Cacodemons from Doom.
From Doom, yes.
Yes.
My favorite game series.
Yeah, I have a plush of that. So it was see. So I was looking at it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna animate this, and it actually turned out pretty cool because it's quite simple. It doesn't really have that much going on. So I just made it bounce on its head, left and right. It was quite amusing actually.
So
Yeah.
So growing up in Bulgaria, you were into swimming, athletics, and then you were going to join the military, correct?
Me? No.
Were you not? I thought we talked. I thought we talked about what were you
Mitch,
doing?
are you
I'm so
making shit
confused
up?
now.
You're the worst podcast host.
It's for the clout. Leave him.
What did you fuck?
Oh my god!
I thought we talked about you joining the
No,
military.
it was my.
You're a
I
bad
mentioned
person
my
and a
dad
bad
being in the
friend.
military.
Yeah, your dad was. So what were you gonna do? You were.
Me, I used to do a lot of things before high school. And, I used to go swimming, as I told you. I used to do drama. I used to go on art lessons, like a lot of things. Because back home, traditionally, kids do a lot of stuff growing up. It's not just one activity. We used to do a lot of things. But yeah, it was mainly that. And after high school, I lost all will to live or do anything. So pretty much that.
I feel that.
So but you just went straight into animating and college in that sense?
To be honest, I know why you got confused, because I told you that I had a few years university in criminology back home. Maybe that's why you got confused about it. It wasn't really military. It was, it's more bureaucratic part of it, really. Yeah, I had a few years of that after high school, which I don't know why I went into criminology, because in Bulgaria we have some specialized high schools with specific subjects, and I had it's so difficult to explain because our educational system is so much different than majority of the world. Like, school for us is from 1st till 12th grade, and from 1st till 7th grade is like pre-high school, and high school starts from 8th till 12th grade.
Okay.
And in high school, I was in a specialized class for fine art. Right. So we had regular classes, obviously. You have the science, history, maths, etc., etc. And then we had art history, and then we had fine art studio practice, and then the other half of the class had graphics, and the other half of the class had sculpting. It was separated like that. And then you have the other classes which were unrelated to us, because we had one class that we have for 4 years, the same people, we just changed rooms. We don't change rooms for class how you guys do in America. It's a bit different. We have the same people for, like, say 4 or 5 years. We're together and we take different classes rather than you changing classes for different people.
Okay.
Right.
So, and you were doing the I can't say that word.
Criminology?
Yeah, that was in university after I graduated from high school. It was my first university back home in Bulgaria.
And how did you go from that into what you do now with animation and illustration?
Right. Well, at the time, I don't know. It was a confusing time after high school. I wasn't sure if I want to continue with art, even though I've been doing that all my life. And I was like, is that going to be profitable? Am I going to be able to make it? So I decided, okay, let's go for something that's more certain. So I signed up for criminology because, it sounded interesting to me. It still does, to be honest with you. It was going quite all right, but at the time I had a bit of a difficult period in my life, so I ended up quitting. And I dropped out, I'm pretty sure, in year 3. And then afterwards, I had a few months of, thinking, sorting out my life. And then I decided to go abroad and continue with art, start new page, new life, how it is. And I was looking online through universities. I applied through a company that helps out students, foreign students apply to England. And yeah, I applied, they accepted me, and I came over to the UK and started new,
Are you in the UK right now?
Yes, I am, sadly.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, me too.
What was that hard point in your life where you decided to leave what you had initially started and start something new again? We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but
yeah, I'm just gonna vaguely go over it. Pretty much, I was not in a good mental state at the time, and everything felt I'm in a rut, and nothing felt right. Obviously, because I was not doing what I was meant to be doing. Because when you study or work or do something that's really not for you, the environment, the people, nothing around you is right. Even
I
if
feel
you're
that
doing
so
well.
intimately. So intimately.
Sorry?
I understand that feeling.
Yeah, but to top with how I was feeling at the time, it just crashed on top of my head, and I was like, screw this, I need to do what I love doing, and it's eventually gonna pay off. And that's why I keep telling people it's never too late to start again and start with doing what you want, because when you have the drive to do it, things will show. No matter how impossible it seems. Like, for instance, my grandmother, bless her, I love her to bits, but she never believes in art. She doesn't believe in things like that. She's very old school, you know, old commie mentality sort of stuff. And I can't blame her, because she's grown up in a village all her life. She hasn't really traveled much. She hasn't seen the world. All she's seen is hard work all her life. And that's what she believes in. Hard physical work is the only way you can succeed in life. Or, be doctor, be lawyer, etc. But yeah.
Yeah. No, my family is the exact same.
So Nathan is across his kitchen, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Could you not hear me? I'm actually right next to the.
We can, but
Yeah, I am right next to the microphone. I'm just off screen, in terms of the camera.
So, growing up in Bulgaria, are there still
I'm gonna
echoes?
move the microphone closer.
Growing
just get
up,
a headset.
I should, but this microphone costs a lot of money, so I'm going to keep using it.
We did. How much did we spend on this podcast equipment?
About $1,000 startup, I think.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
Well, we wanted to do it the right way. If we were going to do a podcast, it was always going to be, in my mind, it was going to be as high of quality as we can make it. And nothing pisses me off more than hearing the audio problems that we've had in some of the earlier episodes. And
yeah, you get real poopy about that.
It fucking annoys me. It annoys the living shit out of me. And it was something super simple. Like, I had a knob turned all the way when I should have had the knob turned the other way.
Yeah, we didn't know what that knob did until a couple weeks ago.
Still fucking annoys me. And then
that's all right.
A lot of people too, when they pick up our podcast, they started episode 1, and episode 1 is just retarded.
It was all right. I was listening to episode 1 a few weeks ago. I started listening to the podcast, and it sounded fine to me. But then again, I was outside, so maybe that's how I didn't hear the errors.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of people listen to this now. It still surprises me though whenever I talk to somebody and they tell me that they listen to the podcast. It's still I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's very strange to me, because there's a lot of people in my life. Well, not a lot, but a lot of people to me is 2 people. But there's a not insignificant amount of people in my life that listen to the podcast, and I forget that. I constantly forget that, because to me the podcast is kind of like shouting into the void. And I don't really censor myself at all, to the degree that I censor myself around regular ass people that I actually spend time with. So
yeah, it's a very intimate part of our lives.
Yeah, it's a very intimate part of our lives, and I forget that. So I'll be talking with someone who I'm close to, but I don't say these things. They're like, "Oh yeah," they'll bring up something that I only talked to Mitch about, and I forget that. Not only did I only talk to Mitch about it, I also talked to the whole world about it, because it's being recorded and published online.
Like Midnight
That
Tennis.
happens a lot.
Yeah, we got.
I think that's one of the. Sorry.
We got memes about Midnight Tennis for a couple weeks that I thought were really funny.
We literally got a meme about that today.
Did we?
Someone sent because someone bought something from our web store, which is unpublished.
yeah,
when they
you're
managed
right.
To find it.
Yep.
And they sent a message being like, hey, your phone number and your full name and email came up when I bought this. I'd like to tell you, just so you know, no one calls you for midnight tennis. And I laughed my ass off and changed it immediately. But holy shit.
Midnight tennis, where Nathan got invited by a female to go play tennis at midnight, and he didn't think that she wanted to fuck. He just wanted to play tennis.
Hey, I just wanted to play tennis, okay?
Yeah, just wanted to play tennis. But growing up in Bulgaria, did you experience kind of any echoes from the Soviet Union? And
yeah, actually, when I was younger, being like 5-6 years old, when you start, remembering more parts of your life, there was quite a bit of influences. Nothing to do, politically, nothing limited us when we were kids, stuff like that. I mean, it was more so the products we would buy, the places we'd go, architecture-wise and stuff like that. It was very heavily influenced still, obviously, by socialism, as that's what it was. It was socialism more rather than anything else.
well, that wasn't real socialism.
Sorry?
I'm making a joke. I said that's not real socialism.
Oh my god, I hate those people.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well,
no, it's a joke. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. I'm being a dick.
That's what people always say whenever.
Yeah, not to interrupt you.
You make
again.
jokes. We used to go to prison when we made jokes. That's not funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's what people in America do when socialism gets brought up, or the Soviet Union in particular. They'll be like, "That was
that's not real communism.
That's not real communism. That's not real
No,
communism."
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
We're not arguing. We're not arguing. We're complaining about other people in comment sections. This has nothing to do with your.
Yeah.
That's fair. I myself, I'm not big on politics. I don't really understand it. I don't pretend to understand it. I can just tell you my experience and the way my parents experienced it and my grandparents experienced it. Because obviously, my parents grew up most of their life under socialism, under socialist regime. And also to top it, I think, even though I've spoken to my parents and grandparents a lot about it, I think the most interesting stories I've had about those times was when I used to do a lot of train traveling across the country, because you can get from one side of the country, get this, to the other side for less than 10 hours by train. Yeah, it's a small country. It's like roughly 8 million people in the entire country. It's tiny. There's like 9 million people in London itself, which blows my mind still. But yeah, I used to do like across the country for a boyfriend at that time. Don't ask, dedication. But we still have the old school trains that you would not want to, ride around in. No luxury, no nothing at all. Whatever, but you have those cubicles like Harry Potter style. Yep. So you have several people in one cubicle, right? And I'd always end up with very talkative grandpas and grandmas. So I'd get stories like they were explaining to me how the trains used to be back then, how they used to have like this guide on a little radio that would tell them where they're passing, what's happening, etc., etc. And there was this man that was explaining how he used to be a big jokester when he was younger, right? He used to make jokes about politicians, about stuff like that, but he's like, that was a big no-no. And he was telling me how if a friend or a relative would hear you make any of those jokes and you weren't feeling safe in their presence, they would definitely go rat you out to the police and you'd have to spend time in prison for that.
Holy shit.
Or get a beating, essentially. But ironically, you would not hear any of the old generation complain about the regime. They love it. They want it back. They think it was better. Which, comparing then to now, economic-wise and anything else, I can understand why. Because from that point of view, right, from the work point of view, obviously everyone had work, no one was jobless, they wouldn't ask you, they wouldn't care about your background, about what you've studied, if you're qualified or not. Like, for instance, my father, he's been on his job for 35 plus years. He retired the other year. And he's never been to university. He's never, like, he was an electrician in a facility, like, which is, it's a very, very dangerous and very complicated job, what he used to do, because he used to work with these huge generators and stuff. He never had the education for it. He just learned on the job. Imagine learning that on the job. Like imagine like Homer Simpson going into the fucking facility doing, like, radiation stuff. That was pretty much my dad.
Oh my
That's
god.
how it was.
It reminds me a
Yeah.
little bit of have you seen the series Chernobyl?
Just bits of it. I've seen something similar to it about the actual disaster, but not the series itself.
It's very good. That's all. I'm not going to get into it, but
So people, I've heard this before in other countries that have left the Soviet Union. Well, when the Soviet Union collapsed, I traveled a lot around the Baltic states doing different training operations up there. Ukraine, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. And there is a lot of the older generation wishes they could go back to when the Soviets ran things and when it was very much like that. But a lot of the younger people see the benefits of not being under that. And I think it's because at the time when they grew up, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I am by no means a subject matter expert, and that's why we're talking to you about it. But from what I think, I think people might miss it because it was a simpler life. It was very simple. I don't want to say easy. It wasn't easy, but it was much more simple. You had a structure pretty much until you retired. You were guaranteed a job. You were guaranteed, and I don't know the specifics of getting that job, but you had your job, you did your job, you got paid, you got your food, you lived in your place, and then you did that your whole life. And that's a very simple, I don't want to say stress-free life, but it seems less stressful than, well, now you have to do everything on your own and find all these things on your own and go out, and maybe you're going to fail, and there's not a lot of safety nets if you do fail. I'm kind of curious your thoughts as to why, if I'm close, if I'm far off, if I'm fucking retarded, which I already know I am.
No, you are correct. And you know what? Not even just the jobs, but also your home was also provided by your workplace, by the government. The apartment in which I grew up was given to my father and mother by my dad's old workplace. They provided it, and they still live there. They've paid it out and everything. It's theirs. That's where they live. And to me, I think that was quite beneficial for people, specifically for young people, young couples, young families, when they have a child, because they had like a one bedroom small apartment studio before, when I was born, when I was one. And then the job where my dad was, they said, okay, we're going to provide you, we're building a new building across from yours, you're going to have like a 2 bedroom flat stuff, you can move in there with your family, etc., etc. I'm pretty sure they had to pay a small amount of tax for it over time, and they paid it out fully, which is crazy to me. Like, I couldn't believe it. If I had to do this now in this time, I wouldn't be able to afford it. I wouldn't be able to pay it out by the time my parents have paid it out. They've already, had a child, had everything. And I think it was the security, the emotional security, and the financial security that people miss, rather than the ideology back then. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people will put up with specific ideologies and being mistreated for the sake of having a stable financial life for their family, which is sad, honestly, but that's how it is. But to be honest with you, I think it people don't really believe, the old generations don't really believe that it affected them a lot, which is not true. It's not true, because it shows now how back in time our entire country is with everything compared to the world, socially, economically, in any way possible. But no.
Well, I feel like that's also like I absolutely agree, but I feel like that's a struggle that a lot of people are having now. A lot of our generation, like this generation, that we can't afford the same things our parents did. Like when like my dad working for a train company is like a low level maintenance guy. Bought a house, went across the country, had a car, had all sorts of stuff.
There you go.
My mother was literally a peasant who, by scrounging and working really hard, came over here to, pursue a new life, and, is now a upper middle class government worker, ironically, considering how I fucking turned out. And those opportunities still exist, but they're so much harder to find now. And I think that's worldwide. Just the ability to work and make something of yourself, it's still there. Don't get me wrong, but you can't do it in the same way that you could worldwide. I think back like the idea of, a 20 something year old owning a house and being married and having kids and being able to sustain them on a budget of, early graduate or not even having school, just like vaguely skilled labor, that just doesn't exist anymore.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think people like to look towards ideologies and systems like socialism and capitalism and even communism and look at them in only a biased light, and or not a full light, if that makes sense. They look at it in the positives and the benefits, or they look at it only in the negatives, depending on which side of the spectrum they fall on. And it's interesting because when you look at capitalism and what America has largely tried to do or claims to have done, there are obvious downfalls and negatives, being that, one, we're relying on a form of money that no longer is backed by anything. Inflation has gone out of control.
Don't even get me started on the collapse of the Bretton Woods Agreement. Sorry, continue.
And people can't afford the same things that our parents could. And because of that, I think a lot of people are looking now towards socialism or communism, and they're using countries or areas of the world like the Soviet Union and looking at what older folks are saying about it, like, oh, it was great, we had this, we had that, it was all provided to us, we were happy. And they don't think about the negatives and the obvious bad things that came with that era and that system, much like they only look at capitalism as capitalists look at socialists, just complete failures. There's no nuance to it. And I'm very interested to learn the nuances about, socialism and how your family experienced it, because I think it is very relevant to what we over in America, or just North America in general, are kind of going through. From your perspective, not your family's, I could ask you questions all day about your family's perspective because I think it is infinitely interesting. But from your perspective, from knowing your family's perspective and growing up in a country that still experiences echoes of the Soviet Union and socialism, where do you think, do you see any similarities and comparisons with what your family experienced maybe to what the United States is turning towards?
Absolutely not. Because, I am very, very confused of this modern day socialism, communism fans. I don't understand it at all. Because I see a lot of, more left-leaning people be very much into the idea of communism now. And it really, really confuses me. Like, I don't understand it. It goes completely against everything they stand for, but they only want the bit in which, oh yes, we have everything provided without moving our finger. But that's not exactly what communism or socialism was at all. Like,
No.
the country would provide for you if you provide for it. You are the moving mechanism of the country. It's not about you being, sitting around on your ass and the country providing for you and you saying what this and that and the other, you policing whatever. That's not how it was. The state would police you, you wouldn't police it, and what, they would say. But I am genuinely confused, and I don't understand, like, do you have any idea where and how it started with so many young people in America specifically now? I see it a lot online. They're very much into the idea of communism, but which part of it are they into? Because they definitely have not had any point of view of it, or have actually did an extensive read or research on how it actually was. And we're not talking about, reading about it in history books, because obviously history is, has its like general point of view on it, but the actual social experience of how these, regimes were is completely different to what it actually is. Like, I don't understand it. I'm genuinely confused about it.
Yeah, I think it stems from there's a lot of things that contribute to it, but I think largely the conversation comes from people seeing what they perceive as the current system as failing, and they're looking towards what provides them with security and social safety. And they think that is socialism or communism.
That's not what it is, though.
I understand that, but I don't think they understand, because they think of and they look at the general theory, and that is where, when you bring up periods of time where socialism or communism was tried, and you can see that the theory might be sound to you, where it's, yeah, everybody is kind of equal, everybody's taken care of, everybody has all these things. What they don't look at
They
is
weren't really equal per se, to be honest.
Yeah, no, there was still a ruling class.
exactly, but they don't see that. They just see the large majority where they would fall would be considered equal to a large majority of people around, but even that isn't necessarily true. So with that lack of understanding and context in the first place, they start to deep dive into it. And when I say deep dive, they're deep diving into the shallow end, where they see things that are very seemingly, well, you're taken care of. Oh, look, all these older folks who grew up in the Soviet Union wish they were back in it because it was hardworking.
Because
and
there was none of you guys. That's why they wanted
exactly. They don't understand that they would have to go be a mechanic. They would have to go and do these things. These things don't just magically, exist and work. That is you. That is your job. And we still have those people today that do it voluntarily. But it's a very strange thing. And when you bring up things like, oh, what about the bread lines? What about literal famine and genocide?
Did you say bread lines? Sorry.
Yeah, bread lines.
Yeah, like lines to get bread.
It was not just about bread. It was just generally for rationing food. And specifically, it's actually really interesting you mentioned that. Around holiday times, considering we're now recording around holiday times, they would have a line in which they can buy tangerines, bananas, more tropical fruit, which you could not just generally buy. American or any Western or anything like stock stuff like that was not really allowed. Western TV wasn't allowed, like anything from outside. There was only one specific general place you can go and order it, and that's how they used to. It used to be a big flex for them to actually wear jeans.
Yes.
Jeans were like a big flex. My dad would show me his first pair of jeans. He just waves it around the house. See, I paid this much, blah blah blah, this that. He was very very proud of it. It was just it was just crazy to me. I was sitting when I was a kid. I was like, what is so special about your stupid jeans? It's just jeans. You can find jeans anywhere. My dad was like, you couldn't back then. They weren't allowed.
Yep.
It's madness. Specifically about like you were not allowed to have produce or anything that was not Bulgarian made, for instance, or Russian made, however it is in the specific country. You had like, as far as I remember, like 3 TV channels back then, and they would watch Bulgarian TV, Bulgarian news, Bulgarian theater, whatever it was. So yeah, it must have been very mind-blowing in the late 80s when socialism fell and they found out there's more than 3 channels. It must have been like, wow, what is that?
How was it possible for one to leave Bulgaria? Like, let's say your dad was like, you want to know what? I want to move, not even to the United States. I want to move to UK. Was that a possibility?
Actually, I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I'm not sure because I don't think my parents ever traveled outside the country before, before they had me. I'm actually not sure.
Would they have even had the means to do it?
I'm pretty sure you had to go through some, procedures to travel because my grandfather's brother, he traveled quite a lot when he was younger in those times. So I am pretty sure you were allowed for tourism and stuff like that. You're not like North Korea, for instance, you're not allowed to leave, blah, blah, blah. You were allowed. I'm just not too sure. I can't really give you information on that.
I got you.
I've never actually asked them.
So your father was in the military, though, at one point, correct?
It's like, I don't know what it's called in English. It's like mandatory service for young men.
Conscription?
When you turn... Sorry?
Conscription?
I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like several years of mandatory military service. When you're taught, obviously, how to do your bed, what to do, physical training, how to use a weapon, preparation for war, etc., etc. But it was like mandatory for each and every young man. And a lot of men now in my country are still yapping about it. They're like, oh, you're not raising real men anymore without a mandatory military training. Everyone's just a pussy because no one's going through military training anymore. I was like, then teach your son how to be a man. Why are you expecting some, crusty people in a military camp to do it for you, mate? Like, do it yourself. Whatever, My dad used to tell me a lot of stories and about, that specific time of his life. It used to be quite obviously strict. I'm pretty sure you've went through that yourself, so I'm not going to be the one, teaching you about it. But it was quite strict. Obviously, his superiors used to be quite abusive. But, he accepted it as it is. He doesn't really see it in a negative light.
And after his military service, he was allowed to keep his service weapon?
No, he is not. It goes into the military reserve as far as I understood. So
where did your father just purchase that AK?
That is a picture from his military service.
Oh, okay. So he doesn't have that AK anymore.
No, he does not. He does not. He sadly does not own it anymore.
Okay.
Rusting somewhere in the reserve, sadly.
Because I thought that was kind of funny that after your mandatory military service, you were allowed to keep your service weapon.
You are not.
Yeah,
sadly.
I was going to say, if you were allowed to, I feel like that's not good when you're socialist or communist or living just under the Soviets, because that is how you essentially train your rebellion against you, if there ever is one. And arm it.
They weren't that stupid. There was rebellion. Young people used to do that a lot. They used to gather in little social clubs and stuff like that. Obviously, talk stuff that are not allowed to talk out loud outside during the day and stuff like that. It was quite interesting. They
would enforce speech, like you weren't allowed to, you're not allowed to joke about politicians, but you had to not say certain things or around certain people, or else?
I think it was mostly towards the political leaders. Just generally, they could obviously joke and say stupid stuff, but specifically not towards the leaders, as far as I understood it. Yeah.
It's so strange to think that this experience that your family has had actually happened, because it's so foreign, especially to somebody like myself who grew up in the red-blooded American fucking freedom, you know. But hearing about it, even if it is, you know, secondhand through you, that is your family. And we read about it in history growing up, and we kind of learn about it, and it's almost just, it seems like it's from a different planet. Like, yeah, no, there's no way that, like, it happened, but like people now, like, there's no way people would actually live like that. And that's not like saying in like in a disgusting way, like you're below us by any means. It's saying like that type of life under that type of government, it just doesn't seem like it could happen. But it does happen, and it still happens in some places around the world, and
it could happen anywhere. It could happen here.
Yeah, and
give
it's
give a couple
It
bad
could not
years.
happen there. Trust me, I do not. From my point of view, I do not see America changing in that direction ever. I think you guys are maybe slightly paranoid about it because you see a lot of influences like that on social media, but I definitely do not. I can't see any type of regime like that working for America. It's funny you say you think that our side of the world is like a different planet, but for us it's the same towards you. When we look from our point of view towards you, it's like America is like a different planet to us. Like the States are like a complete, like it's like a movie. It's like unrealistic to us. It's like what we've seen on TV, obviously.
That's such an interesting perspective, because when you said not working here in the US, I agree it wouldn't work here, but it didn't work over there either.
Well, technically, if you ask a lot of people that are more into politics and stuff like that, that are more understanding in this, they will easily tell you that countries like Bulgaria are not good under democracy. They're going to say that democracy actually ruins it because it helps with corruption. Well, not that socialism didn't, but under democracy is like, it's like a nightmare towards countries that used to be like ex-Soviet Union countries. And I can see it from that point of view. I can see it, but I don't see that sort of thing working in the States. I don't know. From my personal point of view, I don't think that sort of thing working there. Because let me tell you, socialism used to be like very close to a dictatorship at some times. Like that was like it was a very thin line between both of those things. I don't really see it because genuinely, from my point of view, I think your people, like the American people, are crazy and would not let that happen. Like I'm saying it as a compliment. I'm saying it as a compliment. Like, you guys have so much rebellion in you. It's crazy. Like from a different point of view, like it looks insane. Like it's crazy. I'm not saying that we're not like that, but you would stand your ground more than any of the people that in my country have. When it comes down to that, like. The things we've seen in the past few years have proven it a lot. Trust me.
Well, and you know, I'm glad you do say something like that, because it kind of gives me another perspective from somebody else looking at America inside in. Because as somebody who is in America right now, I see these things, even both sides. You know, I think they're both kind of fucking stupid, but I see these things happening, and it doesn't make me scared that a dictator is going to rise up and take over the US. It makes me scared that they're going to try.
Yeah.
And
let them try. That's why the people are the people, if that makes sense. I think you guys have the ability to stand up to people like that. I genuinely do think so, because there's like, before I got more into the gun community and stuff like that, I genuinely was terrified that the world is starting to turn to a very bad point. And then I met incredibly level-headed people, very optimistic for their future. They know what they want. They know how they want to do it. They know how they want to raise their children. They know how they want to pave the future for the future generations. And that gave me a lot of hope, and that helped me change my perspective to a more positive one towards the future. That's why I'm telling you, like, don't be scared or paranoid about someone trying, because people, obviously leaders will try. Evil people are always going to stand in a position of power, because that's how it is, that's how life is, that's how it's always been. But the most important thing is you need to stand your ground and know where you stand in life and how you want your future and your family's future to be, and that's all that matters. Because the more people think in a specific way, the more are going to join them in that thought. At least that's what I think.
I think what scares me on top of somebody trying is people not thinking about. People in America are very selfish. Not everybody, but a large group of people in America are very, very selfish individuals. And if it ever comes down to, which I don't think in my lifetime it will. I think a civil war is more likely to happen in my lifetime, not over a dictatorship or communism or socialism, just from a cultural standpoint. I see a civil war breaking out. And not even like the traditional Civil War where two sides have guns and it's brother on brother, kind of like the first American Civil War. I mean more like a Cold War like a cold Civil War, if that makes sense, where the cultures continue to get so drastically different that people get so burnt out and tired from it, which people already are, that they start to just be like, I don't fucking care what happens in 100 years because I'm going to be dead. And they isolate and they just are like, fuck it, whatever happens, let those retards go do whatever they're doing. And I'm one of those people where, hey, you want to know what? If they want to go out and kill each other over something stupid, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm going to hang out, I'm going to spend time with my family, and I'm going to be with my family. And that larger purpose, I think, is something that is starting to decay from the American individual. The American spirit is still much alive. I talked about the American spirit before. I truly believe in the American spirit. You see it in sports even, to bring up the World Cup. The last time America, when we were playing Belgium, we had no fucking business being in that World Cup. But you want to know what happened? People said, fuck you, we're America. We're going to do much better than we ever are supposed to be doing. And I think that lives inside of a lot of Americans, where it's like, no, fuck you, we're not doing that, and it doesn't matter. We'll overcome any odds to defeat that. But
that's a very admirable trait I find in people. Like a lot of people here in the UK would say that's very, that's a bit of silly talk, whatever. I don't think so. I think that's a very admirable trait in American folk, that they have that fire in them to stand their ground. A lot of people should learn from that, in my opinion.
No, I absolutely agree. It's something that I wish existed in Canada here. And, people say that I'm absolutely insane for liking it so much. But no, I think it's important. It's very admirable.
It's very weird how the only example I can think of where that exists in the world is America, where people are not, obviously nothing is absolute, but a large majority of people have this mindset where it's, fuck you, I'm going to do this anyway. Doesn't matter the odds. We're going to overcome it, especially if you come over here and try to do something. I think people would, it doesn't matter what side you're on. If there was a foreign force invading, everybody would unify and fuck up whatever it is coming here.
100%.
And that makes me feel comfortable, obviously, but what scares me the most is individuals not doing that when it's happening because of ourselves. And I think if America is going to collapse, we're going to essentially destroy ourselves. And who knows what's going to rise out of the ashes, because it's going to continue at some point. Something is going to continue, but it's very interesting. And hearing from an outsider's perspective kind of gives me a little bit of hope, because I only see it.
I think you should have a lot of hope. I think that's one of the things that should be driving everyone in life. You should always be hopeful, and you should be working towards a better future. That's how it is. Like, I see what you mean, and funny enough, with my UK friends, we've had a lot of conversations recently about civil war in America, the same way that you seen that point because my friends are a bit older than me here, and they're a bit more on the conservative side, tend to be on some topics, that is, and they also see what you mean, and I also agree with them that and you that from a cultural point of view, definitely, because a lot of like there's been like a drastic change in understanding and culture wise in the States in the past years. I think it started kicking off around 2015. Around was that when Trump was elected? I think it was around that time.
Yeah, in 2014, Trump was elected.
Yeah,
and that kind
and
of
ever since then, shit kind of hit the fan like really hard over there.
Yeah.
With a lot of movements and stuff, and that's when the world was like, hey, yo, what's happening over there, relax. And, but yeah, I can see it, but then again, to be honest with you, it depends on how radical thinking the other side is
Yeah.
in this point, and I don't think agreeable and weak-minded people are going to be able to lead any part of civil war, but that's how I see it. I think that it's mostly bark and no bite, if that makes sense. That's how I see it. But yeah, because it's obviously anyone can talk crap over the internet, and they can say they have this great social ideology and morals and this and that the other, but anyone can talk, but when the knife hits the bone, it's a different story. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And what did you mean when you said a lot of people are selfish? In what sense you mean selfish?
Selfish in the way where fighting a culture war would not be worth it to a lot of individuals. And what I mean by that is if you're, myself, for example, I'm a married man. I have a daughter now. I'm not going to go out.
God bless.
Thank you. I'm not going to be going out and fighting any war. You got me fucked up. Unless people are coming to my door, to my town, I'm not fighting fucking anything. They can go fucking kill themselves over whatever ideology or belief. But the consequences of that could be that an ideology rises up like socialism or like communism. And I'm not saying it will. I'm saying that presents the opportunity. And when there's an opportunity, people take advantage of an opportunity. And it makes me concerned that there is a growing amount of people, and I say that as somebody that is that person, but it makes me concerned that unification identity that America has had for so long. I mean, obviously we've been divided on things throughout history, but I'd argue that we could always at least come together with certain things. I thought COVID would bring people together.
Never let a good tragedy go to waste, That's how I feel about COVID. Maybe I'm just a doomer.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at with COVID. I thought it would kind of be not another 9/11, but another 9/11 type event where everybody kind of wakes up one day and we're all like, hey, you want to know what? This thing happened and it was terrible. And now we have to overcome it together. And we're going to have differences on how we overcome it, but at least we all want to overcome it. It seems like people now are less about overcoming it and more about, hey, shut the fuck up, you're wrong. I'm going to do it this way. And if you don't do it this way, get fucked. And that's creating
the freedom the internet gives you, as much of a boomer thing of that to say is, but it's true though. It's true. The internet has given us a lot of freedom of speech to a point in which people think there's no consequences. So freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequences, does it? I don't know, man. But there's a difference between selfishness and self-preservation, though. You gotta take your priorities, and because I don't know. To me, I don't feel like you prioritizing your family in such a situation is selfish per se. That makes sense? I don't know.
Well, it's a different time and it's a different mindset. I think if you ask people, I'll use the Red Army, for example. There's a great TikTok going around with Putin reminding the world that the Red Army took Berlin, Do you think the
TikTok
people
going around? You really aged yourself there, Mitch.
you think the people in the Red Army that were taking Berlin were thinking about how this is going to affect their family, or were they thinking how this is going to do well for their country? I mean, everybody always talks about Mother Russia, Mother Russia. We do it for Mother Russia. And I think
Russia is a different breed. Let me tell you, they're a different breed.
Yes,
they're
are.
Bulgarians on steroid. I'll tell you this much.
I've had my fair share of interactions with them. They're crazy motherfuckers.
Yep.
On the same turn, to relate it to you, the British airborne units, the Red Devils, they're crazy motherfuckers too. They will literally sexually harass you and sexually assault you to like.
Are you talking from experience?
I'm talking from witnessing, not from being a part of. I wasn't in the British fucking army. They didn't do shit to us. But when they stayed on our bases, and it's weird too, in Afghanistan, there were Russian contractors flying planes in Afghanistan. It was strange. The cultures and politics behind that are fucking weird. But the British, the Red Devils specifically, I tattooed their asses. They literally their asses. We would they would come into our barracks rooms. They were sleeping on tents over on the soccer fields. It's an American base, so I call it soccer, not a football pitch. They were staying in tents on our soccer field, and they were like, "Fuck that, we're gonna go hang out in the barracks, mate." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And they would come out and hanging out in our barracks, and we would get really fucked up with them. And we had a barracks tattoo gun. That's how I got my PCS award. I'll show you in a second on my leg. And they would get fucked up. We'd get fucked up. And they'd be like, this is like 2014, 2015. They're like, fuck the liberals, mate. We're going to get MAGA 2014. I can't even do a fucking British accent. So we would tattoo like Trump 2014, like shit on their ass. And they would fucking love it. But while they're doing it, they're like finger fucking each other's ass. They're like, this is our new private. Fuck you, dude. And like put their fingers in their ass. Dude, they were the craziest motherfuckers. The British Red Devil.
For how much they were speaking against liberals, they were quite sexually liberated.
They really were fucking nuts. And the Russians too. But here's my PCS award on my leg.
Oh, careful. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Did you do that yourself?
I did not. My platoon had to pick it. So we had a thing where when you were PCSing or ETSing, your award would be everybody gets really fucked up and they get to tattoo you anything that is smaller than like if you make the okay sign, so like that circle. Mm-hmm. So like the outline of your fingers, it has to be smaller than that. It can't get you kicked out of the military, so it can't be on your hands, face, neck.
Visible parts, I assume.
Yeah, and it can't be anything like derogatory. So I always used to, because I was in the airborne unit, I always used to say airborne, like ironically. I'd be like, airborne! And they decided to tattoo that onto my leg with the smiley face. It's good times. But back to the Bulgarian barbarian Anna. How did you kind of get into the American culture of gun culture? And because you draw really, really good pictures and illustrations of not only guns, but like Garand Thumb, all these relevant gun culture figures.
I am glad you think so, because I personally think I do well with the faces and gear, but I do terribly with the guns. Oh my god. I do not think I do well with drawing weapons. I'm still getting into it because detailing sometimes can get very tedious to me, and then I just end up slapping paint and color over it and, call it a day. Hopefully people are going to focus on the face more than anything else. How I got into it. Funny enough, in high school, I was watching... what was Hickok? Was it his?
Yes. Hickok 45.
Yes, him. I used to watch him a lot. I used to have a blast watching his videos when I was in high school. So that's basically pretty much the early beginnings of what what got me into it. Obviously, video games. A lot of video games also had a big influence on my work, but mainly recently, because I wasn't big on Instagram. I wasn't big on social media. I didn't really have Instagram. Funny enough, back in March of this year, one of my best friends, Tony, back in Bulgaria, big shout out to him, he forced me to make an Instagram for my work. He was like, you need to put your work out there. You need to show the world this, that, the other. Bless him, one of the best people I know. Anyways, he was like, you should do that. And at the time, I was back home briefly, and I had to go through physiotherapy for my hand because I had like a repetitive strain injury from drawing for university, and I had to go through physiotherapy. So I had to stop briefly for like 2 months, stop working, stop drawing anything. It was, to be honest, it didn't feel good emotionally, but while I was going through therapy, I started watching Garen Thumb videos.
How?
I don't know. I actually don't remember how I did it. I got a recommendation or something on my YouTube, and I was like, this is interesting. What is this? Oh, this guy, he's reviewing combat pants. Let me see. That sounds interesting. So I started watching his reviews of gear, like the old ones.
Yeah.
Where he's like, look at this. And he had this, like, I found that fascinating. He had like a 3D model of the pants spinning around next to him, and he was explaining it. I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I started watching the gun reviews, rifle reviews, etc., and even the nurses would join in on me. They were watching on the phone with me while they were helping me out with the physio. They're like, oh, my son likes this too. He likes this guy. He watches him. I was like, that's crazy. That's really crazy. And further ahead, when I went out of physiotherapy, I started, sketching, doodling again. And when I came back to the UK, I started drawing him. And then when I started uploading him, a lot of people were like, we like this guy, draw more of him. I was like, funny you say that. I actually also like this guy, and I would like to draw more of him. And I opened art requests. I opened them every few weeks for sketches and stuff. And people started recommending me other creators, and I started getting into other creators as well. Obviously, admin results and the likes of. And I started watching a lot of that content, and it actually inspired me. And for me to actually get into drawing something, I actually need to have a drive for it, to actually be inspired by it, to have a muse. I feel that's so hard. Yeah, otherwise it's like a task. It's like the hardest thing to do in my life is to draw. That's why sometimes when I do commissions, it just can be draining. I'm like, oh.
Mitch can speak to, that's yes. A real thing. That's such a real thing.
Yeah.
So being in UK, it's obviously difficult to obtain firearms that aren't stupid. Are you like in Bulgaria?
Any? I didn't even know we can.
Yeah, in Bulgaria, are you allowed to own firearms?
As far as I understand, yes, you can have a license for it, but I'm not sure you can carry or anything. For hunting, obviously you can, but I'm not sure if you can. Like, I've never, sadly, held a gun or shot a gun or anything like that in my life.
That's what
do
I
you
was.
Have any plans to ever go to the States?
Yes, I do.
Yes, we're gonna hook you up to make sure that you have a fucking fantastic range day when you come here.
Oh my god, like you wouldn't believe.
You're gonna. It doesn't matter where you are. We'll figure it out. We know people kind of all over.
We know
the place.
People kind of everywhere.
Yeah, wherever you're at, we are going to set you up with the most fucking fantastic range day. I don't care who we have to call in favors for.
You guys are too sweet.
you need to. Because I was going to ask if you shot firearms, and being in Bulgaria.
No, sadly not. No.
I know Bulgarians make decent AKs, so I was curious if you ever.
As far as I know, yeah. People have told me that apparently we produce very good parts as well for AKs and stuff like that. I was not very aware of that.
So you are learning about guns through Garand Thumb, and you don't see. This is what's interesting. You don't have the ability to obtain any of these firearms. And
yeah, well, so far I'm just enjoying watching others shoot them, and that's good enough for me, honestly. When I have the opportunity, pretty sure I'm gonna find good people that are gonna teach me how to do it properly and in a safe manner, obviously.
yes, absolutely. We'll make sure that there's no fucking weirdo ex-Marine that's like, let me
I don't
creepily.
mind. That sounds fun.
You don't want no weirdo ex-Marine teaching you how to
Well,
shoot.
Punisher style.
No, that's so intriguing to me how you are interested in the American gun culture to the point where you do fan art, really good fan art nonetheless,
Yeah.
of these.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't even know that person that you started watching videos with. I don't know anybody.
Highcock 45? You don't know fucking Highcock 45?
No, I don't know anybody.
Really?
He doesn't know who anyone is.
I didn't even know who Grant Thumb was
Neither do
until, like,
you.
a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo's different. That guy sucks.
He's not different. He's more famous than Hickok.
Who cares? Hickok's cooler.
He is. I agree.
Fuck you, Mitch.
It's just crazy that because when I watch like a Grant Thumb video, I'm watching it because it's like a gun that I'm thinking of getting myself, or his recce videos that he's been doing recently. But it's not like, I can't imagine being from a country that doesn't allow me to own these weapons or obtain these weapons even, and still watching him. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's great. I love how people are interested in American gun culture. It makes me happy, and it makes me wish that people everywhere could experience American gun culture and beyond what we have, because quite frankly, even what we have, while it is much better, dare I say, than any other country in the world when it comes to owning what you can, it is not as good as it can be. And, I mean, owning things like a suppressor and a fully automatic belt-fed fucking 240 without having to go through tons of licensing and paying obscene amounts of fees to the government just to own it would be fucking fantastic. But I do think it is.
I think it's necessary, don't you reckon? It's good, because that way crazy people don't buy guns, is it?
No.
I hope you're being ironic. I strongly disagree.
She's from the UK. She doesn't understand.
No, but obviously you guys are for gun safety, I assume.
Yes, but gun safety is something that people can learn. Taking guns away from people.
Really?
Say again?
Any person can learn gun safety, yeah?
Any person can learn gun safety.
That's a very bold statement. You have too much faith in people.
Here's the problem that I have with it. It's the precedence that it sets. Yes. So once they say, hey, but by the way, you can own a tank in America. It's completely legal to own a tank.
That's awesome.
I don't know why people say you can't. See, it's awesome. But like, what's a weapon you're not allowed to own in the United States? I'll just use my example. You can get a belt-fed suppressed 240. That being said, you're going to pay an astronomical amount of money just to be able to own it. And then you have to find, and then these guns are so expensive because people aren't buying them because nobody's going through that fucking process. So you're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this firearm that, quite frankly, you should just be able to have Amazon deliver to your door and call it a day. But unfortunately, that's not how we are. Well,
you know more on that. It's your personal point of view, because I come from a background with like literally no weapons at all, no firearms, no stuff like that. Well, I'm definitely not against it. Don't take it like that. It's just that obviously it's something that's new to me, and I'm completely unaware of how people handle guns back there. And like, of course, to me in my mind is like, how are you actually sure that this person is not going to be some goofy fucker that's going to do something stupid with that weapon?
Well, the way that I see it, and before we get into it again, yes, bad things will happen. Bad things will always happen with anything. How are we sure that guy's not going to get into, a U-Haul pickup truck and run over a crowd of 60 people?
100%.
How do we know about any of this stuff? And in before, people will talk about, oh, well, you have to license cars. I don't think you should have to do that either. And you also don't have to license cars to buy them with cash and use them on your own property. I think the ability to defend yourself, and especially the ability to defend yourself against the state, is a human right. And I think once you start talking about like, oh, well, we have to think about the children, and therefore we're going to implement licensing, and we're going to ban this and ban this. Oh, you don't need this. Oh, you don't need this. It's a slippery slope and you never come back from it. And I'm in a country where that's happening right now. I'm in a country where it's like, oh, well, you don't need more than 5 rounds in a magazine, because what if a crazy person just happens to get their hands on it and they kill people? And then a crazy person gets their hands on it and kills people anyway. And they go, oh, well, let's ban more things, even though the person bought this in the black market. We're at a point.
The crazy people, then I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like we can make things harder, but not at the behest of restricting essentially a human right. For example, at the beginning of COVID, when all of the civil unrest and everything was happening, and we didn't know where everything was going to go. The licensing program for guns here shut down, and if you wanted a gun, fuck you, you're not getting one. You couldn't take the licensing course, and the people that were actually processing them weren't in the office. So essentially, you just couldn't get anything.
Yeah,
idea that you can saying that made me think now. You are very correct. I never looked at it from this point of view. Your country goes out of its way to ban and restrict stuff instead of actually looking at the other side of the issue.
Yes, 100%.
Actually, seeing why people would do things they do, trying to help them like mentally, socially, economically, any way. But, it's easier just to say no. Gun bad. You will not get gun.
Exactly.
You might be bad.
The less people that have guns, the easier it is to do that, and just say no, gun bad. You can't have anything because there's no political pushback. Yeah, as much as I'm not like a fan of the Constitution, and that the Constitution's a piece of paper. It codifies rights that you should already have. It codifies things that
things are quite dated in your Constitution, though. That's the thing. Things that shouldn't be in it at all.
Oh, in America?
Yeah.
I'm clear to be clear, I'm not American. I hope to be soon. But
you're Canadian. Sorry, I've no clue. But you are a completely different part of the planet, so it's
it's okay.
It's all the same thing.
I live a very short drive from the American border. That's the funny part.
Let's pretend I was aiming that at Mitch and you.
Yes.
The point being, though, about firearms and the restrictions that they come. Well, yes, obviously, I don't think any normal firearm owner wants any crazy person to go to a school and kill a bunch of kids.
No,
it's tragic. It is an absolute tragedy when something like that happens, and it has been happening more in recent times in the last 20 years than prior to that.
But that's mostly kids that end up doing it. It's not really adults, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, and with the restrictions that come as consequence to these actions, it sets a very, very dangerous precedence, and that precedence started way back in the day, in the early 1900s, kind of during Prohibition, and when we started to restrict gun rights for black people, and that's even before the 1900s. Original firearm ownership was for everyone except for black people and I think women, because we were,
Makes sense.
We were a racist country and we weren't going to arm the people that were literally enslaving. That's stupid. So what ended up happening over time, as people started to gain equality, we started to restrict them on certain ownership of firearms or property. For example, women couldn't get a credit card in the United States until like the 70s or 80s, unless they were married to a man who could also be on that credit card. But as time has went on and as more people have gained equal rights in America, which they should have always had to begin with, don't get me wrong, you started to see more restrictions that were originally intended to affect those people gaining equality. So firearm restrictions were against black people, and then it was against, black men or women or whatever have you, and then that started the slope of creating the NFA. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, we banned fully automatics and suppressors. So, who needs a bump stock anyway? It's fine. You don't need a bump stock. And I agree. Bump stocks are pretty fucking stupid and not very practical.
Yeah,
that being
but it's
said,
not about needs. It's
not about needs at all. And that being said, I can think that it's stupid and impractical. That doesn't mean that you should be restricted from owning it. And the precedence that sets is now we can ban accessories. So any accessory, be it a suppressor. And then it's like, oh, well, why don't we ban integrated suppressor barrels? And the precedence, I keep saying that word because it rings very true to me. And that's one of the things that concerns me. As we go forward with banning all of these things and setting these restrictions, it eventually gets to the point where you can own shotguns and pistols with a permit. And then eventually somebody is going to go shoot up a school with a shotgun, and a shotgun is going to fuck somebody up more than an AR is going to. And it's going to be
a scary thought.
It's going to be a very graphic, gory.
It happens. It happened in the UK like a couple months ago.
It's tragic.
Did it?
Yes.
But
I'm very back on the news, I'll be honest with you. Here mostly it's knife violence. Ironically, ever since London got its current mayor, the knife crime has raised like 70% or something crazy like that. It's like really bad. When I was in uni, my uni branch was right next to the mall. And the mall here in Luton is quite big. It's like in the center of the entire town. And we constantly have police lines on the entrances, like day in, day out, because someone stabbed someone. Some kids chased each other with a machete. One kid cut the other up. It's like graphic shit, or just constant suicides. Ironically, people would jump from the job center. Very ironic. And stuff like that. It was like very gruesome, very bad. So it kind of shows you don't really need a firearm to commit a crime, does it?
No.
It's just like, if people want to be evil, they're going to be evil even with their bare hands. They don't really need a firearm to do that. Okay. And restriction-wise, here, if you want to buy a knife, a kitchen knife, you need to show ID. And the knives are not on display. You have a cutout photo of the knife. You take it, you go to the people at the register, give it to them. They check your ID, ask you what you want to do with this knife. What do you think I want to do? Obviously, cut onions, duh. And they go take it out, like it's double, triple packed with some, alarms on it. They, remove it, and then they give it to you and you pay for it. So yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You gotta show your ID to buy a kitchen knife.
Yeah, you do. It's funny to you, but it's because the knife crime is incredibly high here.
Wonder how many lives that saved.
No, because I just wonder, where do people get the machetes from? That sounds so badass, doesn't it?
You can buy them at Dick's here or Walmart.
Yeah, you can buy them at
yeah. You don't have that here. If you can't buy a friggin' knife, imagine where the hell did you find a machete from the jungle? That's crazy.
You can go to Walmart and buy a machete for like $20.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those shitty
you can buy them as well anywhere. We don't have restrictions on that back home because we don't really have much violent crime back home, I'll be honest with you. But here it's insane.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I do have one more point to make when it comes to firearms restrictions. I think the idea of punishing people for simply owning an item is another bad precedence to set, and we should punish people for their actions and not simply owning something. And that doesn't apply to people. Whenever I say that, they're like, oh, so you should just be able to own people? No. You cannot own people. But if I, for example, owned, let's go to the complete fucking most obnoxious thing. Hypothetically, if I had the means of obtaining a nuclear weapon, what's the harm in anybody simply owning one when they already exist and are owned by governments throughout the world? You could say that person could initiate some absolutely catastrophic event that kills a ton of people, and you could be absolutely correct. They already exist, they're going to exist, and people already have them. simply owning something is not a crime. The showing of intent that you will use it or using it, however, should definitely be punishable. And I think,
100%, I agree.
yeah, I think the idea of just simply saying, if you own this now, I can throw you in prison for owning something is very, very dangerous.
It's dangerous, yeah.
And that is kind of part of my concerns that I brought up earlier with you. We're not gonna go too deep back into socialism and all that stuff. I want to get more back into you and drawing stuff. But that was one of my concerns, was we are starting to restrict ownership and punish people for simply owning something, as opposed to people that are actually doing bad things. And it can be used as an excuse for like preventative medicine almost. But that's kind of just an excuse to infringe on somebody. You know, essentially, let's say I owned a machine gun that I didn't pay the licenses for. At any time, the federal government can come in, take me away, and throw me in jail. And if I resist and I'm like, no, I'm not going to jail for simply owning something, then they're going to fucking kill me. It sets a bad precedence. And I keep saying that word, but it's something that I want to.
That's true.
It's something I want to drive home. And I know.
That's very scary, you know. That sounds terrifying. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, and it's something that I think on a much
drastic
more
measures, don't you think?
It is a bit drastic, and that's the precise reason why I think people should own whatever the fuck they want, for if that event ever comes where your family very much, it was real for your parents and your grandparents to not be able to even joke around about a politician. Or, you know, I imagine owning a firearm at that time and then being like joking about politicians then too would result in something terrible. It's a very scary, concerning thing that I don't want to dwell on too much, but I do want, it's just something for you to think about, because you mentioned, you know, some of the restrictions maybe being necessary, and, you know, it's a very,
not so much restriction, but prevention is like, you know, because it was also funny enough, that was also part of my degree back home when I studied criminology, was prevention of terrorism with profile criminology. And we had to go through a lot of we had classes in which we talked about prevention of terrorist attacks, or how you would react in a specific like, let's say you're put in an event in which you have like a gathering for like let's say a concert, or for school concert or something like that. What are the steps you take? How would you to prevent a specific, you know, bad event occurring and stuff like that. It was like not so much about restriction but prevention, because you can prevent an event without restrictions, if that makes sense.
So
like that's what it made me think. It's not so much about, I didn't say it in a sense of, oh, but you shouldn't let this,
right.
that, the other thing. It's like you should, you know, to assess a situation and to prevent a certain bad event from happening.
Okay, so you were talking more specifically about specific events, and it would have been fine if you would have had thoughts one way or the other. You know, I don't let politics or personal beliefs, you know, dictate friendships or relationships with folks. I think that's one of the...
No, 100%. But the thing is, like, when you come from a completely different background, yes. It's like, obviously, I am very open to learning different points of view. I'm not the sort of person that was going to sit down and tell you, no, you are wrong on how you think and feel and see your country and how things are where you are. I can't say that. Obviously, that's ridiculous. But that's why I'm asking questions, and I'm asking, wouldn't it be better to do this?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, rather.
Do you have any plans of moving to the U.S. or just visiting?
You know, I don't really have any long-term plans anymore, because things change so much. They can change in days. Like, ideally, it would be great for me to move from the UK. It's my dream to move away from here. It's just, it's a depressing place. As much as I like to think I'm a very positive thinking person, but then it just presses so hard on you, this place, that even the most positive person is like, screw this, I want to get out of here. It would be great as long as I can find a workplace and a place to settle. That would be amazing. That would be great.
Picture this: you come to America, you watch Granthum's videos, and then you say, you know what? I want to buy that Knight's armament.
Yeah. That's SIG MCX.
M16 with the grenade launcher.
and then you go out and you say, hey, you want to know what? I have the money to do it. I'm going to go do it. And then you go to a range and then you have a great time. Picture that life.
I am picturing it. I'm not saying I'm not gonna. That sounds great. That sounds grand. As long as there's people that can direct me and help me out to learn, to properly do it. Of course, 100%.
Mm-hmm. I think it would also add a unique perspective to how you draw weapons, because then you could actually have one physically.
It would help a lot.
Yeah, you have one there physically with you. So getting kind of back into the drawing and kind of the fan fiction that you do you ever, I mean, I'm sure you do, but I'm kind of curious, what does it look like when you draw for yourself? Because that's something that Nathan doesn't do too much for himself anymore, and I wish he would.
You mean original characters and stuff like that?
Yeah. So like where you're drawing not necessarily for commercial use or a commission or for a post, you're just drawing because it's something that you enjoy.
You mean my process or what drives me and stuff like that?
No. I mean, do you ever just draw for yourself?
Of course, always. I draw a lot. I draw daily a lot. What I post is not even a small percentage of how much work I actually produce daily. Is because I can't even explain. Well, you guys are artists, you're gonna understand. But it's like you just have this drive. You just have to create. When it makes you, it makes you. You just have to sit down and actually grab a pen and do something. Like no matter where I am. Like, cause I go often to the pub with my friends to socialize, and I even there on the menus, on napkins, on stuff like that, the staff there, because we're regulars, they know us. They collect my drawings now and they take them home with them. It's like it's insane at this point. It's like an illness. It's not even a talent anymore. Yeah.
That's something I've been trying. Obviously, Nathan doing this for his job now, it's hard to, I'm sure, time-wise for him to find time to draw for himself, but it is something that I hope you don't lose your passion for. And I don't think Nathan has. I'm not implying that you have, Nathan. I am saying that I think when you have
you're fine.
When you have something that you love and you have to monetize it, and then not just monetize it, but make it so it is your living, that can make it very difficult to enjoy it anymore. And I don't know that from an artist perspective. I know that from a soccer or a football perspective. I am a huge fan of the sport. I love the sport, but I have noticed that since I started working in it, I've noticed that some days when I have to do something that I genuinely don't like, if I have to go scout somebody that I already know fucking sucks, but they're going to pay me money to go look at this kid and they want me to give my opinion on them again, like I find myself not enjoying it, and it scares me sometimes. So I find myself forcing myself to now venture into leagues where I don't know players, because it makes me enjoy it more. Like the Prem, I can't watch the Prem. I can't, because I get fucking annoyed because I'm sitting there watching.
Sucks. That's why.
Not only does it suck, I watch some of the players and I'm like almost scouting in my head, and it makes the experience not enjoyable. But if I go and watch like the championship, where I am a fan of Millwall, but I don't know, a lot of the other clubs and their players because they're all fucking scrubs, it makes it more enjoyable to watch, because I'm not sitting there wondering why Mo Salah isn't developing a fucking right foot, because if he did, he would be one of the most potent players in the world, and he already is. But I'm not sitting there getting frustrated about that, because I'm just trying to learn about the players, and it makes it more of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. So it's understandable. It's understandable. And with the smaller leagues, like with the lower divisions, you see people who actually still play for the sake of playing the game and not so much money driven. Exactly. So that's a big plus as well. So I understand that.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I asked about the art thing, because it would be a shame for somebody with your talent to not enjoy doing it anymore and only doing it because you have to. And I hope you never experience that.
No. I understand what you mean. I mentioned it earlier as well, that when I do specific commissions, sometimes it just takes the life out of me. Like it makes it incredibly boring. And but that doesn't really make me stray away from what I do, because again, I'm telling you, it's like this. It's a very strong passion. It's not just something I do. It's like a drive. It's a very strong drive to create. And I when I don't, even when I'm working on a commission, I still have an idea in the back of my head. And now I started to actually write down on my notes on my phone things I would like to draw, and I go back to them and I do it. It's like screw it, like I will do it regardless if it's for a post or not. It's like, if it drives you, if you like the idea, always keep it in the back of your head and go back to it. It helps a lot. It helps a lot, honestly. We have a saying back in my country: "The idiot writes things down, the smart one remembers them."
Can you say
I
that in
started writing
Bulgarian?
it down. Sorry?
Can you say that in Bulgarian?
Oh my days. Умния помни, тъпия се записва.
No. I love it. Nathan, do you have maybe you should do that, where you have like a little notebook where you write down ideas that you want? What do you think about that?
You should definitely do that.
I should do that. I know that I'm not going to, but I should do that.
Yeah, I was the same. I was the same beforehand. Like a few months ago, I was the same. And then I had this brilliant idea, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to draw this. And I went to sleep and I fucking forgot it. And
I do that all the time and I hate it.
Yeah, that's why I started writing it down. I started writing it down on my phone, and it's like these really, really random things.
Yeah.
Right. It's not even like a structured, sentence or something. It's just like random stuff. And then when you go back and read it, you either are like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do, or what the hell was I thinking? What did I mean when I wanted to draw this?
That's a great idea. It's the what the hell was I thinking ones are usually my favorite, honestly.
Yeah, it's great. It's grand.
Yeah. But I don't remember the last time I just drew something for me, and I keep bringing that up. It's just I have a lot of commissions on the plate, which is good. Like, it's a good thing. I'm not too busy. I'm not busy enough. But I feel like whenever I can do art for myself, like, I should be doing commissions, Like the art for the Seaburn page, that's like a good anywhere between 10 and 30 hours a week, depending how much. And it stacks up, and it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but like I stopped creating for myself a little while ago, and I'm okay with that.
You're okay with it?
I am. I'm absolutely okay with it. I'm actually quite happy with it, if anything.
I think once in a while you should switch up things in between commissions. Obviously, there's deadlines and stuff like that, but I always take time in between commissions to do stuff for myself or for my page. Otherwise, you risk a lot on ending up in an art block, and you do not want that, because that's probably one of the worst things.
I hate art blocks, yeah. I haven't had too much of a problem, at least so far.
I actually,
because
for myself,
like what I draw for the page is also just what I like drawing.
Yeah, that's good. See, that's the perfect combination between work and what you like doing.
Yeah.
For myself, I actually figured out how to snap out of an art block almost instantly. But that's obviously how it works for me. I don't know if it works for other people, but for me, it's I start drawing things that are connected to my interests, because I tend to hyper focus a lot on stuff like obviously shows or books or stuff that I currently like, and I start drawing stuff from there. Like, for instance, I've been watching a show recently that I'm really into, and then I start drawing stuff like I just sketch the characters or something like that, and it kind of refuels your creative juice back, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
But at least these days, normally when I get like an art block or I need to go out or something, like I just go to the range. I just go and like do stuff.
Do your own drawings.
Yeah. I just like on days that I have off, I don't draw, and that's fine. To me, that's fine. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I really enjoy what I do for the page. It doesn't feel like a job. Sometimes, like, the odd thing will come along. It's like, I really don't want to fucking do this. But, like, 90%, I vastly enjoy.
Yeah, and you're, I think, in a good way. I don't know how long you've been following us, Anna, but the workload used to be, like, triple what we do
It used
now.
to be more and less at the same time. Art used to take me less time.
Yeah.
I would actually say, like, if I averaged it out, I was working longer, but I think now I'm working, I don't want to say harder. Like, more content went out, but the average quality of the content is much higher now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Anna, you're getting into the part of the podcast where we masturbate to ourselves.
Oh, so. Yeah. Self-masturbation.
I don't mind.
It was a very... Well, when we started out, because we didn't really figure out our footing and our stride, and I think we still are kind of in a lot of things because we're venturing
in a lot of ways, and we always will be.
Yeah, I mean, we're always venturing into new projects. Like we just started doing NFTs more.
Oh
yeah.
my god,
that was
for real? I was gonna ask you.
That was Mitch's
real?
idea. I just like the art was done already, and people like him. And we a good friend of ours, Rico Jericho Silva. Said he doesn't personally invest in them himself, but he said they're here to stay, and if we're going to get into it, we should do it now.
Yeah, and you know what? We have already a couple bids. One was for $200. Yeah, one was for $220 for the Donald Trump soy jack.
The Donald Trump soy jack, $220 for the Donald Trump soy jack that I did yesterday.
And then
that's not bad.
And then
I think your following helps a lot with that, though. With NFTs, you need to have like a solid following for people to actually start bidding on stuff like that. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think it's more of the culture behind it. I'm going to be honest. I'm not even going to pretend to act like I understand NFTs. I have a very basic grasp on them, but it's much like crypto to me. I don't fully understand it, but I see that there is money to be made long term, and both Nathan and I are poor and need money. So
yeah, it's nice to be able to have time to do the things that we like.
Yeah, and we joke about it too. We're like, go screenshot it, like.
Yeah,
yeah.
I genuinely don't care. Like the idea of a meme template is go screenshot it. I want to see what you do with it. If someone wants to support us or just like have one original piece of art that I did, because I do everything digitally, they can buy it, I guess. It doesn't have to be for a lot. They can put the value on it themselves. I don't care. But in the meantime, someone wants to use it for their own personal gain. Sorry, I just knocked a bunch of screwdrivers off my table when I put my elbow up.
I was going to ask, what are you doing with those screwdrivers? I swear I thought I saw a screwdriver earlier.
Oh, yeah, I was installing a Safariland QLS fork.
Of course you were. What else would you do during a podcast?
I always have to be doing stuff with my hands.
He was eating ribs during the Delta Magna podcast.
Yeah,
I was hungry. I was hungry.
You were eating now as well. I don't know what you were eating.
It was butter chicken.
What was it?
Butter chicken.
Butter chicken. Okay.
Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed it.
It was very good, thank you.
Well, I mean, this is a very professional podcast, obviously.
It's a very professional podcast. Yeah. And like 90% of the time we record is my dinner time. And I guess I could like reschedule when I eat dinner, but I don't want to do that.
No. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. You gotta eat. I have to ask you, have you ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yes, I love that show.
You look like Mac.
Oh, that is not the first time I've heard that. Oh my god.
You look like Mac. It was my first thought when you turned on your camera. I was like, oh, holy shit,
it's Mac. Oh no. Oh, I've heard that a lot.
Nathan, it's tough out there, dude.
You know what? I'll take it. I like Mac. I like Mac a lot.
Take it as a compliment. I like him too. He's one of my favorite characters.
The first thing she said to me was, "Where's your man bun?" And
it's not a man bun. It's a man sprout. Like a man bun implies it looks like a bun. Yours looks like a little, like an onion topper.
Listen, Nathan, my hair is clinical.
Look, when he does that, doesn't he look like a pheasant? Like with
clinically dead.
Oh my fucking god. Well, Anna, it was a real pleasure having you on and getting to actually chat with you now and confirming that you are not in fact a man. You are.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. It was wonderful. we'll have to chat more. Please let us know if and when you're going to go to the States, and we'll take you shooting somehow.
100%.
Or at least set something up.
Yeah, even if we aren't there ourselves, we will hook you up with people that aren't fucking idiots that will give you a wide variety of weapons to get your hands on, because that is part of the American experience. You have to come here. Especially if you draw Garand thumbing guns, you have to come here and just shoot as many guns as you can get your hands on.
That's your ticket
100%.
to a good range. Draw Grand Thumb and go to a good range.
Mitch, have you seen Rodinesian's range? Do you know Dean? Oh shit! Maybe we should censor his last name. Rodinesian. Holy shit! His range is the coolest thing. It's like 600 meters or something.
Nice.
Yeah, it's massive. He sent me footage the other day of just them shooting a machine gun out the side of a helicopter on said range, and I want to go there.
That sounds badass.
He's a cool fucking guy too.
There's a lot of great ranges out here. Well, now I was about to go into our ad read, but I was thinking about it. How are we going to get Anna her belt from AWS?
I don't know.
They could ship it to me, and then I could ship it over to UK.
Yeah, that could work. Or you could hold on to it for when she comes, or whatever she wants to do. We can just ask her after.
Yeah, so Anna, part of our deal with our sponsor is that you get an SMU war belt. It's a belt that I use.
It's really great. It's actually, I got one in my hand. That's what I was installing the QLS fork for. I swear I didn't have this for the ad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I understand you can't have any of the cool guns or things that the belt goes on.
Put my art supplies in it.
You could make a tactical art belt.
There you go.
100%. Well, I'll talk to them. They don't ship outside the U.S., but Anessa, she runs it over there. Well, if anything,
if they get it to you, I can cover for postage. That'll be fine.
No, don't worry about it. You're a guest. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, we'll take it off our sale of the NFT. We'll take it out of Donald Trump.
With that being said, check out Advanced Warfighter Solutions.
Yes, I'm wearing their belt literally right now because I want to test my QLS fork. It's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I've used their belts for years before they were even associated with the page. Before I even had a page, used their stuff. Great stuff and things. Great people over there. They make more than belts. They have a plate carrier. They have pouches. They literally have everything, and they make everything in-house over there. Really cool people. Use code ARTandWAR10. We don't get any kickback. You just save money. And then check out Applied Gear. Similar to AWS, except they do concealed carry belts. So if you need a concealed carry or something that is more low profile and just comfortable to wear, I don't wear mine all the time outside when I'm not concealed carrying, but Nathan seems to always have his on. So if that gives you...
you can't see it.
He's literally wearing it as we speak.
I like it. It's a comfortable belt.
Use code ARTandWAR5. We don't get any kickback. You save money. And I think that's site-wide, right? We are getting new sponsors soon, too, but, until then, fuck them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't mean that. Please stay.
Yeah, they're pretty cool guys, from what I can tell. But
yeah, please. I didn't mean that. Please stay. We need.
Please
money.
Stay.
We need money for things. We're bleeding money with this already. Anna, please take the time. Talk about yourself. Where can people find you? What do you do? If you want to tell everybody your commission price so they can come pay you to draw them.
Oh, man. Okay, so you can find me obviously on Instagram at Victim Henry. That's VCTM Henry. Because the one with the I was taken. Commission wise and everything, if anyone's interested, they can just DM me. That's pretty much it. And also, shout out to my mom because she wanted a shout out. Hi, Mom.
Oh, is your mom going to listen to this?
Yes, she is. She does not know a drop of English, but she is dedicated to just listen and just be happy.
Just to hear your voice.
So sweet.
That is great. How do I say hi in Bulgarian to whatever your mother's name is?
Zdravej, Rajka.
Zdravej, Rajka.
Rajka.
Yes. Zdravej, Rajka.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. She's gonna have a blast.
Well, thanks for listening. Oh, closing words of wisdom except Bulgarian style. So I want you to say some Bulgarian wisdom onto us in Bulgarian and English if you can. Putting you on the spot.
Bulgarian wisdom. We're not the wisest of people, I'll tell you.
Well, neither are we, so...
Yeah, neither are we.
I'll tell you in English first. You guys should keep doing what you're doing. You both are fantastic, and your work is great. And
Thank you.
I am very grateful that you invited me. It was like a starstruck moment a little bit. I was not expecting it. I was like, why in the world would these people want to talk to me of all people? But yes, I appreciate it. Keep doing it.
It was a pleasure. We'll have to have you back on to talk about more video games.
That would be awesome. Yes.
That would be lovely.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I fully support what you guys are for, and keep doing what you're doing. And the fact that you love what you're doing, it just shows. And
thank you.
Yeah, people love you, and they will keep loving you, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I really appreciate that. I was hoping, well, I'm happy with the outcome of that, but I meant more like words of wisdom for everybody. But that's words of wisdom for us.
It ended up just being nice.
Yeah, it was just ended up being really nice, and we really appreciate that. We'll have to have you on again, and maybe you can talk more with your family about socialism, and I'm going to ask you a ton of questions about it.
I can actually have a good talk with them and ask them more stuff about it, so I can actually give you a proper information about it, because right now I wasn't really prepared. So
well, we didn't really do a good job preparing you, but
we never really prepare ourselves for anything, much less prepare anyone else.
That's how these things happen anyways.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that we were recording today until basically right before we started recording, even though I had indicated that I was able to an hour before that. I just forget stuff.
I literally woke up and I saw his message. He's like, how about an hour and a half from now? I'm like, all right.
That's how it is recording with fucking Mitch.
With Mitch, it wasn't me.
It was you. It's always you.
Oh my fucking God. We're not going to get into that. Thanks everybody for listening. Okay, bye.